The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
Rav Leib Mintzberg, Zechreinu Levracha, the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivas Masmidim in Yerushalayim, besides being one of the great Talmidei Chachamim in Yerushalayim, he was known far and wide as one of the greatest mechanchim, one of the greatest educators of our generation. He built up hundreds and hundreds of bachrim, literally made them into mention, made them into yeshivalite. I want to share with you a fascinating story that I just heard this past Erev Shabbos, this past Friday. A nephew of Reb Leib Mintzberg, his name is Reb Mendel Parish, Talmid Chacham from Yerushalayim, told me that at Reb Leib Mintzberg Shiva, somebody walked in and he said, I want you to know that I'm only from today. I'm only in Erlich Yid today, a Shem Torah mitzvahs, because of Reb Leib Mintzberg. So they asked him, oh, you're a Talmud? No. You had a kesher with him? You had shaykhs with him? No. So they said, how are you a Shem Torah mitzvahs? Because of Reb Leib Mintzberg. He said, I want to tell you something. I was a bacher, I was learning in the yeshiva, and I did not get along with Anhal in my yeshiva. I didn't follow the rules good. I'm not saying I was so innocent. Whatever it was, they were always down my back, always after me, always giving me musser. And finally, one day I decided, I had enough. Like, we know, unfortunately, in Eretz Yisrael, there are places to go. I just decided, I'm not wanted in yeshiva. No one thinks good of me. I'm finished with yeshiva. I'm leaving yeshiva. I'm going off the derech. And he said he picked out a place that's a big Makom Tumah in Eretz Yisrael. I'm taking a bus ride. I'm going there, and that's it. I'm leaving yeshiva behind. That's it. It's not for me anymore. I'm gone. I'm done. He said he got on the bus, traveling on this bus, and Reb Leib Mintzberg got onto the bus. He said, I didn't know him b'chlal, but I knew his face. And big Talmidei Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael, I knew his face. Reb Leib Mintzberg, who was a tremendous mechanech educator, walked onto the bus, and he walks by this bacher. Maybe he saw something on the bacher's face. He said he was still dressed like a regular yeshiva bacher. And he said, can I take a seat next to you? Yeah, he said, sure. Leib Mintzberg sat down, started making some small talk with him, and then Leib Mintzberg says to him, you should know something. You make such a nice roshim, such a good impression. He's saying, where do you learn? Oh, so-and-so yeshiva? I didn't know they put out such good products. You're a tremendous, I see such potential in you. He said, you should know you're asid l'gdula. You are, telling you in the future, you're going to be something very special. You have everything it takes. You have such good qualities. You're going to make something of yourself. You're going to be a true Talmud Chacham. You have a tremendous asidus, a tremendous future. This bacher said nobody had ever spoken to him like that. He said he started rethinking. Maybe I am worth something after all. He said instead of going to that Makom Tumah, he turned around and went back to yeshiva. He said, so you should know, I'm only a Shem Torah mitzvah. I'm telling you, I was done. I was done with Yiddishkeit. I'm only a Shem Torah mitzvah because of Reb Leib Mintzberg. That means Reb Leib Mintzberg was nifter, not knowing. He knew many other accomplishments that he did, but he had no shaykhs how he touched this person and saved this person's life. Now, especially, like we mentioned in the last share, there's one day a year that Chazal gave us the mitzvah, laharbis ava v'achva v'reis, friendship. And we spoke about how a person that doesn't feel friendship, doesn't feel wanted by people, doesn't feel respect from people, he literally feels like his life is worthless. Like we said over the Gemara in Tainus, either I have someone that likes me, or else he feels if no one gives me respect, no one likes me, my life is worthless. So let's remember, when we go ahead and we give Mishleich Manos on Purim, the point is not to give a piece of kakash cake. The point is to show someone, I think good of you, I like you, I consider you my friend. I consider you a good person. And when we do that, we infuse the person with life. And we may never know. We may never know what we did to that person. We may never know that we caused someone to be a Shomer Shabbos. We may never know. And I just have to end with one more thing now that I'm saying this. I told this story over on Friday about Reb Leib Mintzberg. It made such an impression on me. Told it over to a cousin of mine, Rev David Cinnamon Shlita. And he told me, I'll tell you back a story that I heard that I don't know the ending to the story. I don't know the end. A story I heard many years ago. There was somebody that taught girls And he used to come. He was a very chashuv Talmud Chacham, and he was also a big mechanech. And he, in a certain high school, girls' high school, he gave certain classes like Rebbeim do. And after a few years later, he met one of those girls, and he said, "Oh, how are you? You must be now involved in shidduchim. How are you doing? What kind of shidduch are you looking for?" She turned and says to the Rebbe, "I'm not the same like I used to be. You're thinking of me as that girl in my class a few years ago for a shidduch." She said, "I don't even know if I'm going to cover my hair. Maybe when I go to my parents' house, I'll cover my hair." So you know what this mechanech turned around and told her? "I didn't know you were such a balas madrega. That even though you're not planning on covering your hair, but in your parents' house, al kibbut of a aim, you're going to cover your hair? Wow, that's a true balas madrega." So Reb David Cinnamon told me that he spoke to one of his sisters-in-law the next day. And she said, "I want you to know, I spoke to a friend of mine who called me. This story happened with her about covering her hair. And you know what she told me? She couldn't fall asleep the whole night. She's having an identity crisis. She thought she's not a balas madrega. She thought that she's worth nothing in Yiddishkeit. But now that someone told her she's a balas madrega, that look at the kibbut of the aim shows what a balas madrega is, maybe Taka she should really cover her hair when she gets married. Maybe, after all, she is a balas madrega. Look what one word of chizuk could do. May we all be zeich this Purim. Everyone should try to find one person to infuse some life into them and say, "I hold of you. I think good of you. I consider you a chashuv, a friend. I feel proud to have a friend that has such yiras shamayim, such avos habriyos." And with that, we can infuse true life, which is the whole point of the mitzvah of Mishleach Manas.
You've just
enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org